Hello, folks. It's yet another interesting moment to hold conversations around contemporary issues thrown up by contemporary Nigeria. I'm Cyril Abaku. Now, you may have heard the policy decision taken by the Central Bank of Nigeria late Wednesday, sacking the boards of 3 banks and replacing their CEOs within hours. The banks affected include Titan Trust Bank, Union Bank, and rather surprisingly, Polaris Bank. The last 2 have been under investigation, but the last one on the list as one shocker has become one shocker. Many a business journalist and even close watchers of the banking and financial sector have not been able to explain to themselves. But who should be surprised? Nigeria can be like that sometimes. There are many things you usually cannot explain, and to borrow the title of that famous poem by Nigerian poet Odiofemo, one may sit early and say, never ask me why. The program is Homo Politicus, and to help us begin the conversation, I want to bring in journalist and publisher of Metro Star newspaper, Emeka Madunago. Emeka, you're welcome to Homo Politicus today. And certainly I also have Innocent Adoluba. Innocent is a journalist also. He is a writer, public affairs commentator. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. My pleasure to be here.
Well, I don't know if you've been able to explain it to yourselves, but the CBN had, I mean, one could say Jim Obaze's ongoing investigation into the CBN under Emefiele had fingered Titan Trust and Union, but Polaris came on the list, sacking the boss and appointing new leadership for the banks. How do you open? Let me begin with you, Mr. Madunago.
Well, we have only been given general reasons, just in general terms. The report from the CBN did not break it down. They only said they engage in acts that threaten the financial stability of the economy, that they generally engage in infractions against excellent financial regulations.
Yes.
Of course, you know, globally, these things happen. Financial regulators from time to time, they come down hard on industry players to stabilize the system. So it's not something that people should look at as being out of place. Because I don't think that the CBN under President Goodluck Jonathan and President Muhammadu Buhari actually tolerated a lot of infractions.
Yes.
Otherwise, in a serious system, a number of banks should have been shut down. Because, there were reports, there were reports about some of the unhealthy practices they engage in. Even going by issues like the illegal deductions from customers' accounts, money laundering, and some other things, you will find out that banks were actively involved in these things. When we talk about corruption in Nigeria, we'll talk about money laundering. When we'll talk about even terrorism financing, we'll talk about financing kidnapping, receiving prison. Let me tell you, you might even almost close down all the banks in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So it's so sad that Nigerian banking has got to the extent that even know your customer KYC requirements have been jettisoned. I'm a businessman. I have reason regularly to interact with my bank.
Yes.
And with the banks where my companies have accounts. And some of the practices are so strange. My father was a banker, and there were things he used to tell me. I read Peter Drucker's management book.
Yeah.
But when you find out these days, you find voodoo
There's
banking,
a sharp, yes.
cowboy banking. For instance, yesterday, I wanted to, inquire about the pound sterling domiciliary account of one of my companies. And you know the interesting thing, the bank workers told me they couldn't see it. Something with already opened dollar, pound, euro, but we have been operating the dollar, the domiciliary account. And we said, okay, let us find out, because the new year has started. We have cleared our tax issues for last year. So beginning of the year, let's look at where income, we might get inflows. So let's be sure that all our systems are working
in place.
They told us that, in fact, we should come and open those accounts afresh. in Nigeria. So I contacted the branch where I opened the account. They said, don't mind them, that the accounts are live. Why can they say they couldn't find those accounts?
This is Nigerian Bank in 2023. Innocent, I don't know if you are appalled as Emeka is, but the question sometimes comes down to the fact that the CBN is an institution of government with very wide sweeping powers, if you like, central powers. They can shut a bank down, they can take away its operations, they can do a whole lot. But we seem to have them being functional only when political will or political authority is demanding that of them. So you don't see them acting, shall I say, freely or autonomously or independently or in a way that you know that if you do something wrong, the CBN could be on your back. But in this case, Titan and Union Bank are two banks that have been under the radar for some time. Juma Baza has been saying a lot of things, and then the other Polaris. But let's even come to Titan and Union Bank. Does this solve the problem that Obaze was raising in his report at all? Or this is just a way of throwing the baby and bath away and then not learning from what might have gone wrong, if anything indeed was wrong?
Thank you, Cyril. Very lengthy question. I'll try to answer from in pockets of understanding spaces. Jim Obaze seemed to have struck a rod of fear in the financial sector. He comes across with intimidating credentials. He's seen as a commando, thorough man, in fact, a bank sniper with regards to investigations.
Yes.
I recall that he was the one who threw up the mysterious number of accounts Emefiele allegedly has opened here and there. So the believability currency about him seemed to still be intact. Where I'm concerned is, say within the last 20 years, if you take 2005 to now, we've been having this recapitalization thing. So I thought the bank numbers should be shrinking to, like Emeka said, to fewer banks with larger capital bases. But with banks springing up, with due respect, you have Jaiz, Titan, names come up where sometimes you've seen the bank before you knew they were even being processed to appear. So in this case, Titan, even with their name, ought to be standing firm. But like he said, we've been given reasons in sprinkles.
Yes.
It hasn't been clear yet. Issues of non-compliance, among others. And then another thing that baffles me is Nigeria working fast now? Formerly, we said Nigeria was too slow. This is an aside. God rest his soul. The late Ondo governor, same day, there was a reinstallment of a successor. Last night, Keystone Bank under Cardoso has a new head immediately, Hassan Imam, among the others. And sitting with him are Deputy Financial System Stability, Philip Ikeozo, alongside Musoro, Mohamed Datijo, Balabello. So it looks like the team seems set to work. Whether it is now a solution or we have learnt, because everything has interest. It could be the voice of Jacob, the hand of Esau. Or so everything has interest. So sorry, we cannot for now, with the scarce evidence or explanations given, draw conclusions. But if they meant to be shut down and they are shut down, let's commend them first and follow the...
Yeah, but I don't know which of you wants to go with this question immediately. But the question is, you don't wake up to wield the big stick if there was no need for it, right? Okay. But the CBN itself has only taken what one may call the first step.
No, sorry, so that we don't go on along the wrong trajectory. Keystone and Polaris had issues that predated this administration.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
So
yes. They did.
Let's get that clear so that we don't confuse issues. So I think CBN just quickly
moved in along with it.
Just use the opportunity.
But the question again, and takes me to where I'm going. See, these banks have had long-standing issues. But then, if there was wrongdoing in any of the situation, you know, I mean in any of the scenarios, replacing leadership is not the solution. I'm just thinking, how about now going with the same speed Innocent was talking about, the same speed with which you sack and replace. So, but there'll be no criminal prosecution, there will be no accountability to Nigerians.
I can't say.
There will be no.
This is just the first step. You see, one thing I'll just quickly say is that one major problem we have in the Nigerian corporate system is poor governance.
Yes, corporate governance.
Poor adherence to corporate governance. You know, look at all the sectors. Corporate governance rules are routinely abused with impunity. And you don't see people getting punished. Look at the power sector, Kaduna Disco. The board was just sacked the other day. And they left behind a debt of 100 billion naira. Where did that debt emanate from?
Go, yes.
Who is going to pay that debt? The customers. Ibadan Disco got a loan of 8.9 billion. That was the central bank special loan, I think around 2014 or so. But what happened? It was said that a member of his former board took out 5.5 billion and put it into the 2015 election. What has happened? The fellow is still moving about freely. No persecution, nothing. So you can catalog this, but that of the third bank, you know, Keystone, the other one, Polaris, had their own. But the third one, Titan, well, I think if history serves us well, if you remember, many years ago, there was a bank called Standard Trust Bank,
STB,
that took over UBA, the UBA of today, the great UBA then. You know, UBA was one of the strong banks then.
So much so that STB had to drop its name.
Yes, so.
And then now took over UBA. Now, fast forward to today, in the same fashion, and a relatively unknown bank, Titan, now moved and took over Union Bank.
Acquired.
While still retaining its license. And they just said that, okay, they are going to formalize the takeover and the merger. We're still there, more than a year. And
no, that the takeover happened in 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
That's so.
Yes,
but it didn't come to the fore until about going to 2 years now.
Yes. So now, there is a precedent.
Yes, there is.
A small bank.
David swallowing Goliath.
Yeah, I mean, a small bank swallowing.
Something that even your ears will struggle to take it in.
Now, it's not as if it is impossible.
Impossible, yes.
It is possible for some people to set up a special purpose vehicle with
Yes.
the aim of acquiring
Yes.
an entity. There's nothing wrong with that. It happens in the business. But you see, some of these acquisitions and measures leave a lot to desire. Although the parent investor in Titan, with due respect to them, has said that they complied with every
Extant rules.
that they actually borrowed $300 million from Afrexim Bank, with which they acquired Union Bank. But the question now comes that, okay, fine, if such money was put into the economy, how come the economy still sagged? Because you can't just inject $300 million into, let's say, the economy of the UK or maybe Singapore.
And it sinks without trace.
No, I mean, and you don't see an improvement. Of course, the world, the international press will report it because it will show on the stock exchange in different places. It will show. But the interesting thing was that we just let it go. And it must be said that the immediate past CBN governor, Bobi Emefiele, he really left a lot of things to just float about. And that's why we're where we are today. There is no reason for this economy to be performing badly.
So, Innocent, let's take a detour, just a very short detour from the issues on the table. Some have said that the part of the challenge why the CBN continues to underwhelm we've had great CBN governors, Ola Vincent, but part of the challenge has been that we have not been able to identify the right, as I say, a square peg to put in a square hole. So, for example, they've said commercial bankers think differently from macroeconomists, from fiscal policy experts, from economic managers, for example. And so that at the CBN, we've not had the good fortune of having core economists. Maybe in recent times we've had Richard Soludo, but Emefiele came from Zenith Bank. Even Dr. Cardoso today came from a commercial bank. Maybe there is a crisis of identity, crisis of orientation, a leadership paradigm that is not necessarily suiting the direction the central bank should be going. I don't know if that's something you share. Because the issues America has raised, they are too enormous for anybody to hear or understand them and just look away.
Well, if I should put it this way, professionalism is very blunt in the public sector. You see,
Please, only blunt, do you mean, because blunt could mean both sharp and...
No, is lukewarm.
Okay.
It's lukewarm, for want of language.
Yes.
When you put on your international media, you hear one sector is bringing innovation the central government is embracing. In Nigeria, almost every professional sector still looks to the government that appoints them for direction. The government of the day, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the Senate, National Assembly, State House, are political people. They've given somebody Minister of Science and Technology. It is expected that keying into current global technological trends, such ministry will provide leadership for Nigeria in this AI age. The people will be lukewarm, waiting for the same government who are not at par with you in your area of specialization to come and lead you. In today's world, like Emeka had narrated, if you look at banking trend, he told you about just to keep updates with his own bank accounts. Globally, they tell you global value. You sit on one spot.
Exactly.
Yes. And
I use
on a device.
I use my phone to do international transactions.
But the banks in your own country.
So that's where I'm going.
Imagine, for example, that Nigeria is talking about electronic portal to apply for passports in
2023, 2024.
In 2024, when the world had gone digital for more than 20, 30 years.
That's where
it is now talking about apply for passport from your phone. When people, you go to Ikoyi, people are, it's like there's an entire village meeting,
some of us there are regular callers there.
How then do you lack corruption in all of this?
That's where I'm coming to now. Let me land. The specialization expected, somebody should expect that, let's like you say, a detour. Ministry of Environment has an app for blah blah blah. Ministry of CBN has an app. From the series of central bank governors we mentioned, as recent as Soludo, what was the man, Sanusi, and I don't think we've had portals that are new, that are solutions to some of the bottlenecks we have.
Except maybe for the private sector, those young guys.
No, I'm talking of political appointment. Now that's what I'm talking about. I don't, for want of name, I'm not with the Bismarck Rwanda's, the Nairametrics. I'm not going that way. Yes, I'm saying the appointees, I don't know, kind of feel compensated being appointed.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm wrong. You give some, look at the quagmire we're having from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Please don't go there.
You see, things that can be solved with technology are causes of problem where we sit. And you wonder what progress we can make and how measurable they can be. Like I said, Cardoso, Usoro, and co seem to have hit the ground running. I hope the ground has not run away from them, because let's start dealing with issues that solve. The bank now, as soon as you do a transaction, they are excellently quick to tell you your bank deductions, including VAT. They don't miss it. Other issues that will enhance the operationalisms of these things.
Consumer credit.
Yeah, but in fairness, in spite of the sharp practices you find in the banks, deductions and stuff like that, it could well be argued again that Nigerian banks aren't necessarily lagging behind in driving innovation. So, for example,
which innovation are they trying?
No, so for example,
no, sorry, don't miss it.
No,
the fintechs.
I'm talking about banks, commercial, mainstream. So, for example,
no, you have to name.
I'm coming to something. So, for example,
because we know the fintechs
that are driving the innovation.
Of
course, I know.
So that you don't cause trouble.
No, it's fine. I mean, even if you cause trouble,
no, you don't cause a trouble.
Society, that's how we're getting education. What I mean is this: if the Federal Ministry of Interior was one in charge of Nigerian banking, I'm not sure if you would have been seeing alerts on your phone. You know, do you have the SMS and so on? I don't know. I don't know if you would have had your ATM cards as at now. If left to government alone. But I think that Nigerian banks largely are not where they would have been if they had to reflect Nigerian corruption now and generally our lack of development. But now, bringing the conversation back home, the CBN has asked the heads of these three banks, or two, the bank affected, to take a walk to go home. They appointed new leaders into the
boards of the bank.
Let's ask this question straight up. What lesson have we learned? What mistakes were made? How do we avoid repeating what our mistakes they were, if mistakes were that led to the sacking of the people that have been sacked?
No, you see, that of Titan Trust Bank is something that will still go to the courts. Because I don't think those guys will just give up.
Yeah, I do agree with
the investment freely. That of Keystone, Polaris, they had it coming. And don't forget, these guys will walk home with hefty compensation packages. So even though you ask them to go home, it's no big deal. After all, Polaris Bank, is this the first time that their management is being sacked? Keystone Bank.
I'm glad you went there.
Keystone Bank.
I'm glad
is this the first time?
Yeah.
So, but that of Titan is where everybody is pointing to. So what I suspect is that the process of sorting out issues around Titan Trust was not well thought through, and government may reverse it.
You mean the acquisition?
Whether the acquisition and even the acquisition of sort of
Union Bank.
But government's acquisition of Titan Trust Bank. But that's what it means. By sacking their board, I think it's not a good sign for the economy. It will scare foreign investors. You see, we do a lot of things in this country. We say we're looking for foreign investors, but we also engage in actions that
repel
foreign investors and threaten the economy. I don't think it was necessary to have taken over the management of Titan Trust Bank. You could have revoked the transaction. If there is
take me to where I was going earlier. You don't see the hand of Jacob.
I think some people.
But you can hear
I think some people. I suspect that some people. I suspect that some people who are played out in the acquisition of Union Bank are fighting back
because
through other means.
Because ostensibly, if a bank had gone from Sky to Polaris, and now maybe it remains as Polaris anyway. Another one has gone from Bank PHP to Keystone to Keystone, and so why isn't there a doctor, as it were, who has a stethoscope in hand and begins to check from take the medical history of this bank to say, guys, you've been on this long journey to what's the chance that in another 5 years we won't come back to where we were 5 years before?
Anyway, sorry.
Just let me quickly ask a question. Why has Keystone Bank not been sold? What is he holding in? Why is government still managing this patient?
This is my take. Geographically, if Sky is reduced to the poles, that means even the span of space is confined to both north or south pole, before the expanse is reduced.
Yes.
Now, I think I may be wrong, but remotely, we are alive in the wake of an election that just passed, where it practically rained dollars, rained nairas, and maybe some of these issues are remotely related here, because if you're asking why have they not been closed, Voice of Jacob, sold. Voice of Jacob, Hand of Esau, the interest, that is my point. Maybe somebody was professionally stubborn like his, should I call him his Royal Highness Sanusi. We could see certain defense of policies in that. I am saying that the fact that you are a minister, you look in the space you operate, you should be able to look at global comparison and stand your ground that this is the direction of innovation you would think can drag and rescue, like the passport issue we are talking about. I am saying that much of these ministries has professionals who are lukewarm, yes, who are comfortable. They've entered the government circle, and
well, except that the argument could be, did they take lukewarmness into government, or government brought lukewarmness into them?
I would answer, sir. I have said before, a lot of appointments seem a relief from compensation. So people don't want to outgauge their patrons. And those who dare, maybe records, history may not have favored some. So we move at a snail pace, and it is more haste, less speed.
Well, so to bring this conversation home now, let's just begin to wrap our thoughts. Something tells me, Innocent did allude to it in passing, that we are in the wake of just concluded elections, even if it's almost a year now. But I mean, the milieu is still very fresh, relatively very fresh. Maybe this could be a strategic way of handling a bad situation, in a way that, whereas it looks tacky on the outside, it pays those whom it pays. And so it is more of the environment of circumstance in which what is happening than what's happening itself. So, for example, political risk management, ownership risk management, you've talked about Titan Trust owners now wanting to also go and fight back because they feel like they've been treated unjustly. This environmental question, political environment or whatever it is that that appears to act the way it acts simply because of maybe the banks involved or those who are behind the scenes. How does Nigeria deal with them, and how can we learn from what has happened and not repeat these mistakes again?
Yeah, we must be very careful how we handle the banking sector. Otherwise, because there's a run on the banks, it's going to affect our economy badly. Already, we are dealing with low purchasing power. We are dealing with high exchange rates. We are dealing with so many problems.
Inflation.
Hyperinflation. And all of these things are man-made.
In fact.
Because almost every country globally has recovered from COVID. Almost every country globally has recovered from the recession that came with COVID. Yes. Canada even fared, among the oppressing countries, Canada even fared worse than Nigeria. Canada, Norway fared worse than Nigeria.
But they bounced
back. They're taking care of all their issues and bounce back.
And while they're going up, we are.
So we must be very careful about how we handle this issue. Then nationalizing banks, I think it's too vindictive. We should allow the sector to try, let it be more fluid. If there are issues, punish the infractions. Or the situation where you just come down with the hammer, I don't think it's held for the sector. Because at the end of the day, you may just be trading a dog for a monkey. So look at those discos where you sack their boards. Have the new boards been able to do anything that can markedly different? Nothing. All they ended up doing is just still sharing bills for power not supplied. So what we need to do is let us look at our corporate governance rules.
Yeah.
If there are some that are lax, let's tighten them. Then banking supervision. My father, that's one of the things he used to say when he was alive. He was a banking inspector. He said, banking inspection is so lax these days. You get into a bank, You see people so relaxed. There isn't, you don't see that atmosphere of seriousness. So, yes, that's what you saw when you had MMM. You saw MMM practitioners going to train bankers on how to participate in them in a Ponzi scheme. In a banking hall.
And some will say only
In a banking hall. Yes, I don't want to mention the name of the bank.
And some will say only Nigeria.
But in a banking hall, training bankers it's how to. I don't want to name the bank, but the photographs are there. You can go Google. So these things we must return professionalism to the financial sector. Because you know the interesting thing, these smaller players that are playing, at lower altitudes with microfinance bank licenses are even doing better. I don't want to start calling their names, but ask anybody today, where would you like to open an account today? They would rather, they'll start listing those, do I call them banks or something?
I can even help you. During the cash crunch last year.
Oh, they were the ones that rescued many Nigerians.
All the pays. With all their
without them, life would have been difficult, English and short.
So, what I will say in essence is this. We are in the 21st century.
Honestly.
We must get out of primitive practices. Because you find out there is something about the Nigerian psyche. Everything must be done with suffering. If you don't keep people gathered somewhere, suffering, sweating, fighting, battling,
so get something till today. Banks are now have canopies outside. You were not there before.
It is
till today. It is fuel queues.
Why would CBN still allow such? I was passing by one bank manager. I said, every day, what are all these people? These people are wasting productive bank hours.
Yeah.
All they just need to do is a phone call, and these issues will be resolved. Why do they have to leave home? It shows that one, the manager of that bank or those branches are incompetent and should be sacked. I'm telling you, if I was among the regulator, I would make sure that some of these people are fired. Because why? You are not being innovative. There must be innovative solutions to all these issues. People, as a matter of fact, do you know we are getting into an era where people won't be using international travel passports anymore. All you just need is your facial recognition.
You show up.
Just your facial. That's all.
Yeah.
So what's the point in paying for a passport? What's the point in paying for an ATM card? What's the point in paying for a driver's license?
When all you need to do is to put a finger down.
Just your biometrics are globally shared. I think Nigeria, we need to wake up, or else the world will leave us. In fact, the world has left us behind long ago. Sorry, let me quickly add this. I praise those fintechs, those young boys, those Voyages and the rest of them. You know, in some parts of the world, if you make a transfer, it will take more than 24 hours for that transfer to get through. But in Nigeria is one of the few countries that have actually perfected transfers. But that is true.
Fintechs.
Those fintechs,
not
our banks, not our regular banks.
Anyway, I want to say that Nigeria should begin to shed centralizations.
Yes.
I think that's where the snail pace originates from. Everything is centralized from. Well, we are told that Lagos approximates the population of Ghana. Ghana is nearly 4 times averagely the size of Nigeria. Where Ghana has a government unitarily functioning, we follow them to unitarize this vast expanse of people, economy, and resources. So the pace they make proportionally will be 4 times slower with regards to size compared. So let's reduce centralization. As vast as this country is, there can be stock exchanges across the regions. There can be regional central banks, if I should use that word, that finally reports. And if not, look at the passport thing. You say, despite the commendations, if you want to change your age or whatever, you will go to Abuja. all the way. What if you can't afford the transport? So we should reduce transport centralization. And then I don't know, private interests also cripples, and they camouflage it in populism. It looks like it's for the. So those are where, like he said in his opening, we've not been given details. Non-compliances, or allegedly operated for proxies. We've not been given tangibles. But if we compare ourselves globally, we will do better.
I think just to quickly chip in something to what he said is that he talks about regional stock exchange. I'm talking about private stock exchanges on your phone.
Yeah.
So you can do a lot of things on your phone that are private to you. Nobody needs to have one big somewhere calling itself Nigerian Stock Exchange. You do a lot of trading on your phone. Nigerians are investing in stock exchanges across the world on their phones. So
but we cannot do that.
Why do you need to fill some forms? No.
It's not the best place for us to be, but it's where we find ourselves. Thanks for being on the show this afternoon. Emeka Madunagu, journalist. I must thank you for coming. President Abdulogba, we enjoy having you on the set this afternoon as well.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that's our beat for today. The famous novelist Chiona Achebe, bless his soul, did say that the trouble with Nigeria is simply or squarely the failure of leadership. That was in 1982, but up until now, 2024, leadership has remained the bane of Nigerian development. Perhaps when leaders wake up to know what is right from what is wrong and do what is right and shun what is wrong, then and only then can we begin to lay claim to a country that is truly on the path of greatness. Thanks for being on the show. I'm Cyril Abaku saying bye for now.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.